Hey everybody, Jamie Kelly here. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Season 3 of the Approximate Podcast. Be sure to join our Patreon for only $5 a month to see all of Season 3's episodes in full HD video. That's patreon.com/Approximate Podcast. If you're already a patron, thank you so much for your support. And to everyone who's tuned in, we love you all. And now, on with the show. Kitty! Fucking stop it! God damn it. Fucking cat. Yeah, you. Oi. Scrapple. Stop it. Alright, cut. We're done. Fucking cat. God damn it. Hey, Stephanie. You know who we have today?
Yeah.
I bet you do because
Absolutely.
That weird guy.
It didn't just appear.
Yeah.
It is the industry's living legend. Fucking
That just means that I'm old. Jesus Christ.
Now, isn't it Sir Tom
Sir
Moore?
Tom.
I'll lead off with the
Oh
age.
my God. Would
Jesus
you
Christ.
guys let me introduce our guest, including you, pipe down Tom. It is Sir Tom Moore.
Oops.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Using your special effects. Very good. That's what practice is for.
Sir, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Let me think about that one. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Are you coming in hot off a day off, or did you just get off work?
Today was a day off. Well, there is no such thing as a day off.
Not really, not in what we do.
Oh, hell no.
Every day's a Saturday, which
Christ,
means
there was-
no day's a Saturday.
Yeah, I try to have a real Sunday. That's about it.
Yeah.
And it ain't because I'm religious. Yeah, we're just constantly busy. So, but as I told you earlier, I actually was able to take a nap today. I think,
yeah.
I love an afternoon nap. I'm so more productive into the evening. I'll keep working till 8 or 9.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it.
Oh, man. So for listeners who don't know, this is a man who has spun so many plays. He's done so much in the industry. Currently, what are you best known for, just so the audience can get a flavor?
I like to think that I've always been known for doing a bit of everything, and I think personally, my own sexuality, I enjoy that a broad range. I'm not doing the same thing every day. Also helps with the longevity.
Right.
Being able to absorb what we deal with often. At least it's constantly different groups, except for my crew, which is amazingly supportive.
Right.
So.
I know from like where Stephanie and I stand, and like the circles that we run in as trans performers. We have somebody who wants to make an appearance on the podcast.
Dapper
Honey,
wants to be
what-
part of the podcast.
I
Yes.
love Kitty. Come here, Kitty.
Dapper, come here.
He only has the 2 brain cells.
Yeah, he's
He's
kind
cute.
of
Come on, leave him
slow,
alone.
but he's adorable.
But yeah, what I was gonna say is like from people like it's Stephanie and I in our circles, we know you like currently as a most sought after director to work with and a producer.
Wow, you're really nice. Thank you.
Well, seriously, I mean, we go around, especially like when we're talking to new girls, because they all have like a wish list of sites they want to be on and people they want to work with. And maybe
That's what it's more about. They want to be on Trans Angels.
right. Well, I was gonna say is like just in passing, I'll mention that I know you, right? And they go, "Oh, you know? Can I?
Can I get that number?
Yeah,
What about your email? Right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
No, your legend precedes you. You're
Well, and I trust your judgment. You're not going to send me somebody that's going to waste my time or something.
I mean, you did get the lifetime achievement like last year, didn't you?
That's the symbol to go away. You're too old. Go away. Stop doing this.
I'm dreading that award because I know, like, within the next 5 years, they're gonna chuck one of those motherfuckers at my head.
Right here. See, there you go. We're done with you. No, actually, I'm doing quite well in the industry. I've always had a broad range of different things and genres that I shoot. But I am lucky enough to shoot one of the best trans sites, and a lot of that has to do with, some amazing corporate support as well.
Yeah.
You always have to acknowledge them and the crew, and I'm not the only director or producer too. So there are other people out there that are also doing a great job at the site.
But Tom, you're our favorite.
Well, thanks.
Well, I remember, I think the last time we shot, because we've shot a handful for Angels.
Right.
And I mean, my takeaway, because I mean, I've known of you for years, and I mean, I've been in this game not as long as you have, but a pretty, like, it's coming up 17 years come August. And I remember the first time I met you, and this is going somewhere. The first time I met you was, I think, 2011-ish in LA somewhere on a set, and you were kind of passing through, and I recognized you from porn I had seen from back in the day.
Well, that's, right about the period where I stopped performing. Too.
Right.
So I was, who knows what I was doing.
And it was a bunch of years later, about three years ago, when Steph and I first moved to Vegas and we, got a gig for Angels. It was you directing and your crew, and I remember that first go around. We were over at Bang Bang, the studio.
Oh, right. Well, that was
Yeah.
a pandemic shoot. Wasn't it?
Right. But I remember like meeting you in the makeup room, and I didn't know who like was really directing. I didn't know exactly what was going on. And when I saw you walk in, I was like, "Oh shit, it's Tom! It's fucking Tom!" And I remember just being impressed, like to be able to work with a crew that actually knew what they were doing, that knew the gear, like that had their shit in order. And the few times we've worked since then have always just been an amazing pleasure, and I always felt like I was in such good hands. It's always a treat to work on a set that you're in charge of.
Wow, that's a big old fluff. But yeah, it is. It's not just me, but it's my crew is
Awesome.
really excellent. We're picky about the people that we want to be around all the time. So we try to find people that know how to do their jobs, know how to contribute,
Right.
and come to work with a good attitude. And that's really important. We deal with, as you know, some of the craziest shit on the planet. The only person I ever knew that could tell a worse, dirtier story than me was a 911 supervisor. And she had me beat. But, it was, otherwise, I could pull out something dirty and just shock most of the room.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, and that was Tuesday.
Yeah.
yeah. No, you're full of war stories.
Purple Heart.
But they're fun, no matter how bad they are. At some point later, you're going to laugh about it.
Oh yeah.
And you're going to, oh my God, can you remember that one person? And no, we won't say their name.
There's always that one person.
Shall not be named.
This shall not be named. I did that earlier. I was like, well, I'm going to tell you this crazy story, but I won't say who it was. It's more fun.
Yeah, sets are very much like plane crashes. Anyone that you walk away from.
I gotta say, you know what? Last week, I had 3 pretty big shoots in a row.
Yeah.
And they all went off like clockwork.
Oh, isn't that nice?
It was so unusual. 3 in a row? Oh my God. By Thursday was the last one. And everybody on the cruise looking at each other go, how did that happen? What did we do different? We got to remember this, how to recreate this, because this was way too easy for these long scripted ad moment scenes.
Oh yeah,
Ever.
on a Trans Angel set, it can get pretty damn elaborate.
It's an all-day adventure.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about your early work, because you go way back. When did you start?
94.
94. Jeez.
But I was a part-timer at first. I was putting myself through nursing school after just got out of the Marine Corps. And I was working at a beer company. That was a pretty good job, actually. But I was doing full-time on one and full-time on the other was burning me out. So I was already doing BDSM stage scenes for my friend for fun.
Right.
And somebody recruited me from there that was a horrible agent, which I quickly moved beyond. But it was good. I could go up and I could do 2 days working on the weekends in LA and make more than I did working all week at a beer company. And paid for school in a whole lot more interesting way.
Yeah. Wow. So when did the transition into production work begin? Were you mainly a performer, like for a good group of years, or
for quite a few years, up until about 2000.
Oh wow. Okay.
I mostly just performed, but again, I started really full time performing like 96, And then, let's see, by about 2000, I got offered to do my first male BDSM series, shooting in LA. That I'm still friends with a lot of the people that are on, or that were either in that or helped me to produce it, which was, everybody has to start somewhere. But back then I was hiring camera and basically just doing the directorial and logistical aspects.
Yeah, gotcha. So I want to segue into something because I got a special little show and tell treat for you.
Oh, God.
Okay, now
Who's in the closet?
well, I'm gonna pull out some things here and I'm gonna set them in front of you, and I got to kind of talk my way through this for the audio portion of this.
I never shone for groovy.
All right. You don't think so, huh?
Really? Let me see. Oh, God damn it. You make me pull out my glasses.
Oh yeah, check those out.
All right.
Those bring back any memories?
Somebody, he must have bought them or something because it was always a thing.
It's you.
Jessica. Oh, I wrote this. What are you talking about? That's my handwriting.
And that all comes from that was all sent to me from Groovy. These are for the listening
Okay,
audience.
he-
I was about to say, for the listening
No, this
audience.
I just pulled out a bunch
This
of
is my fucking handwriting.
I just pulled out a bunch of
Maybe old, but it's still the same.
mini DV tapes that were sent to me from a big production company, Groovy Productions. Listeners of the show now.
Right.
And I'm in charge of an archive project where I take all the old tapes from years and years back and I digitally archive them. But it just so happens this latest batch of tapes that Groovy sent me were chock full of your tapes. And it blew my mind. I was like, we were about to have Tom on in a few days, and here's all these old tapes.
Here's a
They've been
con-
sitting
here's
in
a
a box for
conversation point.
17 years.
Brittany, hold on. Wait a minute.
Those bring back some memories?
Bad lad, little Billy, who I told you I was talking to.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Before the
He was-
show, we were
he
talking
was,
about a crazy performer.
Oh,
Incredible performer, could fuck anything, anywhere, anytime, and really was passionate about it. I mean, he was a little nut job, but he really loved to fuck. And I just talked to him last night. It was so funny. But yeah, I think this was all shot in Argentina.
Wow.
That's off the top of my head from 2006. That's not bad.
time capsule.
I want to see it now. Wait a minute. God, you know how it is when you're a shooter. I mean, everybody gets better with time. I look at other photographers and try to pick apart what they do, how to simulate looks that they do, things like that. And you go back and you look at things that you shot years ago, and it's a little embarrassing.
Well, you see your growth. You see your growth as a producer.
Oh no, certainly.
Yeah.
But you're like, oh God, I turned that in. Shit. I would
Somebody
have
paid me?
reshot that now.
Somebody paid me for this?
They thought it was. I tell you what, they thought it was good enough to like archive and keep and return to.
I
So.
wonder how they. Now I got to figure out how they got that. It was interesting. It was a different company.
Oh wow. Okay, so maybe it was maybe they purchased it.
No, that's what I assumed. They probably
Yeah.
bought the catalog
Yeah,
for.
that's probably
Because
exactly.
I know
what
who
happened.
it belonged to, and yeah, I know they sold out at one point. So.
That makes sense because when we were doing the Groovy Gold thing, which is like more of like a taking all the old footage and re-editing it for like a VOD or whatever, we had a bunch of Brazilian, Argentina, South America, Asian stuff like that on there. So I'd imagine, yeah.
I have to say, shooting in South America really was amazing, fun, interesting. I did it for about 7 years of my career, fairly long time, and I enjoyed it so much. The culture there, I mostly went to Argentina. It was a significantly safer place. But working with the girls there as well, it was very much a different feel for the community. There was no big deal for a girl to be walking around the streets, nothing. And this is years ago.
Right.
The clubs, the boys, the girls, and the trans women all danced together. There wasn't really gay bar. There was a couple of gay bars. There I don't think there even really was a trans bar because you didn't have to. Everybody just danced and partied together, much like it was Europe. So it really was like most of the girls I knew had really supportive families. So it was a very different environment to shoot.
Wow.
And a lot of the girls were really lovely people. And I love shooting. I would love to go back and do more work there.
A lot of the forerunning content of trans porn actually came from Brazil and Argentina and places
Right.
like that. Yeah.
I remember back in, I told Stephanie this story a couple days ago. I remember being like 2021, it was around 2000 or so. And I didn't realize I was like 6 years away from actually getting into porn, and my first shoot would be with Groovy. But I remember being a fan of the stuff early online. And I remember so much of it was marked with like the Groovy moniker. And so much of it was Brazilian. I thought Groovy was some kind of weird Brazilian word, and that it was like a South American company.
Right. Well, and it was actually quite a while before I actually met Steven myself. But some of the names of companies in the old days were really bad. You know,
Yeah.
now MindGeek, you think that might be a little goofy, but it's, that's really tame compared to
Really tame.
what
yeah.
some people used to file as LLCs in the state of California.
Yeah. Yeah, it's MindGeek's we'd call it like a white label. But if you knew what they were actually making,
I do, actually.
Well, I mean,
From
no,
us,
we do, of
Our
course,
listening
of course.
audience.
But once you realize if you say MindGeek, that sounds like it's like a tech corporation
Yeah, it
or
sounds like some
something.
kind of video game corporation.
Largely
Yeah.
they're a marketing firm, and that how they manage numbers and manage the internet traffic. So I mean that is the majority of it. We're a smaller part of the division.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Shit, I was going to say something. I forgot.
You were, but I'll just say I'm going to continue to comment on the rocker classes.
Oh, well,
It really works for the theme. I'm just saying.
not a whole
You
lot
want
of
to be that night jock, like
not a whole lot of people know how like actually cool I am.
well, you can help by dressing it up. Come on.
Yeah, it turns out I'm a pretty kick-ass.
You got to say it with a straight face or it doesn't work. I'm telling you.
Oh, Queen of the Sevens, I tell you.
So one thing I want to ask you though is, as a producer nowadays, like what does one of your typical days look like?
It really depends on the company I'm shooting for. They all have different things, much like Trans Angels is going to be anywhere between an 8 and 15-hour day, depending on the script. And the other things maybe for cuckold sessions or glory holes or things like that. Those are going to be much shorter days, more like 4, 5, 6 hours maybe. So it really depends on the client. But much like we discussed, there is no such thing as a day off.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
One of the things I missed most was, you mentioned about something personal, was I used to go to an event called Kink in the Caribbean every year for almost 14 years. And it was one of those places you could go where your phone didn't work. And it became deliberate just so you could have 1 week where that damn thing did not go off.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was, but almost all of the guests that would go to it, that was one of the things that they found was, hey guys, my phone's not going to work. You really can't reach me. But it's a quieting feeling, calming feeling. That's real vacation.
A lot of folks that I'm friends with that tune into the podcast, we're super nerdy, tech-oriented types.
Love
so I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you what kind of gear you're using right now. What's some of your favorite toys?
Okay, I have a real problem with buying equipment. I do way too much. My crew rags on me a lot.
A little bit of gas.
Captain Overkill is common frequently behind me. Let's start with cameras. Let's see where.
Yeah.
Use a Sony A1 for photos almost exclusively. Fucking love that thing. And then the A7S3s, I've got 3 of those for shooting video for different companies. One of them I keep locked on a certain frame rate because I shoot mostly for them.
Well, I was going to ask because Steph and I's production company, we have a very short client list, and they're not nobody's picky about the kind of gear that we use. And we use top of the line gear, but we can, from set to set, we just take our flavor and we bring it to the set.
Okay.
Do some of the companies that you work for insist that you use a specific kind of camera for their productions? You got to keep track of stuff like that?
Specifically, MindGeek does have a list of acceptable cameras. Yes, they want you shooting on something that's professional, that can shoot in log, that does
Right.
a minimum of 60 frames a second. Some basics, we're shooting a 240 frame rate for most things right now.
For the slow-mo stuff?
No, with the slow-mo stuff, where you got to use the compact flash cards so that you can do what we're doing at 600 frames a second.
Oh, 600.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, 600 megabits a second. So those are really fast. We usually, God, it was funny though. I'll be honest with you. We made a mistake and we were like, that panic moment, like, oh God, I think we screwed up. We forgot to switch the chips. We normally keep, there's 2 bays.
Oh, yeah.
And you put we have really high speed SD cards, but then we forgot to swap to the compact flash. It recorded it just fine anyway.
Oh, you lucked
I
out.
couldn't believe. I don't know. There must have been, the buffer is that big
Right.
that it actually just happened to.
Wow.
We were like, oh my God, wait a minute. I made everybody stop. We checked the shot. They're not supposed to work that well.
Equipment saved your ass on that one.
Yeah, I know. I've not made the same mistake twice.
See, now they're all biting their tongue. You know what you're doing. You buy a bunch of stuff on purpose.
Yeah, but you know what? Those one particular cards are $400 a pop.
Wow, really?
Wow.
Yeah, just for it's not even that big. It's, you couldn't shoot a real scene on it. Those are the Sony proprietary compact flash cards. Really suck in price. So we have one for each camera, but that's about it.
What are you guys using for sound?
Sony Boom XLR to I think an 8-channel external recorder that he's generally mixing on the fly.
Okay.
So I use a couple of different guys, and we've done. This is one of the things that's really important in our industry is cross-trained many different people in the crew, so that if someone has to jump in and do audio, well, it can't be me. So
Right.
it's got to be one of the others that can. And you can't, all crews where you do find and you build a crew that you really like, that you will have to swap people in and out at times. Things happen in the world and production must move on.
Of course, yeah.
So it's great to cross-train and keep everybody. I'm pretty much the only one that can do everybody's job, but everybody should be able to do at least one other person's job too.
Yeah, that's with Stephanie, because Stephanie's my crew. Stephanie's my PA, but she has to know essentially everything I know. So there's a lot of like on the job cross training, a lot of sitting down late at night, going over buttons and schematics, and even figuring things out like appropriate amount of like Z space for certain shots and what a 35 millimeter does. Because like I had to teach her all the stuff that I knew. I think most importantly, I taught her the importance and the majesty of gaff tape.
Oh yeah, I mean we've got the giant ring with like every color of the rainbow.
Absolutely.
I ripped off your system because you had.
I ripped it off from somebody else, and they did too.
I remember walking on one of the Transerotica sets one day, and you had just got done like the previous day. You'd left some of your gear there, and hanging off of a C stand, I saw this like I don't know, it was like a lanyard or something that was just full of different tapes and different kinds of colors of painting tape and marker tape and all that. And I was like, because we've just been rooting around in a bag. I was like, no, fuck that. We're going to put it on a string and hang it on a thing, and there's always there.
Always accessible.
Yeah, I've got the little quick release belt now that you can, because you're always adding something new or whatever.
But it's dumb little things like that save time.
We use it more than ever now, just because of everyone, you have to label out everything, every, mark, every little tiny, what am I trying to think of the correct word for it? Label that you have to block every damn thing.
Yep.
We go through more tape now than we ever have. And Hollywood's always been like that, but.
Oh, yeah. What is that? So I remember seeing a piece of equipment. Now there's the C-stands that we have. There's also, I'm sure it was your gear, but there was this incredibly huge panel light that looked like it must have weighed 1,000 pounds that was on the hugest stand I've ever seen. And I was trying to find like where to pick up one of those to hold such weight. And it has the big long triangle tripod legs.
Okay, that's just like a junior stand.
Is it a junior stand? Is that what that is?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can get many different kinds of junior stands. I mean, they make some with where the lights are so heavy, where they've got a crank system to raise them up.
Right.
Those are really expensive. I don't have any of those.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe because maybe it was some of Brazzer stuff. I don't know, but I was
No, it's
so
probably mine.
impressed.
Well, but I love to shop. Who doesn't? Retail therapy is wonderful. And I have a real thing for buying used commercial grade lighting. So it's much more durable. I mean, we were sharing how we both love Nanlights, actually, and that's a newer brand. They make a pretty good quality product.
They do.
But I also love to go on certain websites I know for people in LA, or there's actually a really good one that's based here in Vegas, where they'll have commercial grade lights for ridiculously good prices.
Is it just like old rental gear that they want to retire? Or?
Sometimes, yes. Like I got a Lico there, but they still had freshly painted it and sold it for cheaper than where I could have gotten it anywhere else. I got some 20 bank LEDs. They came in their own rolling cases.
Oh my God!
And I got them for $1,000 each.
Wow. Which normally they'd be.
No, they were like $13,000.
Right.
Wow.
Son
Yeah.
of a bitch.
And originally.
It's a hell of a deal.
And they didn't even have a mark on them, but I took them out of the case. There wasn't even like on the mounting pintle when you drop it in, and yeah, they're heavy. But I've gotten so many of those now that it's really great for like when we're doing summer shoots now. And the company's finally listening to me, and we do it in May,
Yeah.
not in August.
Right.
When it's 100 and God knows what here.
Yeah.
But I've got enough power now where I can do a continuous light setup and go almost 1-to-1 with the sun. So you're using center light as backlight, which normally you could only do with strobes and a whole lot of commercial gear, which now I finally have. And it was really a goal to be able to achieve that.
Right.
And get that nice, clean exposure
Yeah.
when shooting outside into the sun.
When a reflection panel just won't do.
Right, no. Well, yeah, like I have worked with Falcon and used, they have a really huge selection of the full 4x4 manual panels. And you can light people up with that. But I swear they got a hell of a sunburn at the end of it.
Yeah, I imagine so.
All the little nits and grits are gritty. But yeah, I really I nerd out on the lighting.
Yeah.
And then other days I'll pull out 2 lights and do something that looks a little more fun.
Yeah.
So sometimes remembering how to use your lighting and just work with 2 and be happy. And that can look really great. Some of the best looks you achieve are 1, 2, 3 lights. Other times when I'm shooting for, say, a larger company, yeah, we pull out the whole thing.
Yeah.
But that's why I have that giant van.
Yeah.
I love that thing. It's so amazing.
Yeah, especially like I've been on sets where I knew the clients were going to come visit while I was going to shoot, and I knew I only need my camera, I needed a tripod, I needed this light and a little fill, but I set up everything because it really impresses them.
Oh yeah, they love the way that looks.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Oh, if you can trick out your camera with a big fucking box and just hang a bunch of shit off of it.
Oh, I got some really big lenses. Yeah, that's definitely the day to put those on there. Just walk around.
Sometimes you can just actually get the shot with a cell phone, but you put that away.
Oh, those damn things are going to put us all out of business.
This is something I mean, I don't really need them right now, but like a monitor bay setup. I look forward to the day where I could actually utilize a monitor bay, because right now, just like the little Ninja I got's fine for now.
I tried to set one up and it was moderately successful, but how I did it was with an HDMI relay. And what it was is I was going through several new second camera people, and I was not happy with most of their work of all the different ones I was using. And so what I had set up was I was using a regular HDTV, but we used an HDMI relay to bounce their camera image into the TV. But I bought one that wasn't... There's a huge gap between... I got one from China that you can barely see the image.
Right.
Or you can spend, $3,000 and get the one that's crisp and works amazing.
Right. Right.
I didn't want to spend quite that much just for that.
No.
It's kind of segues into what we were from what we were talking about. But do you have like a favorite scene that you've produced, or like something that really you were proud of?
You have to understand the number of things that I've shot over the years. So there have been some really, again, I would say, we're talking about Argentina, some locations that I got to shoot there that even if the models weren't perfect, which no one's perfect, but
Of course.
I got to shoot with the National Congress all lit up in the background
Oh, wow.
on a big balcony. Different things like that you could never pull off anywhere else.
Yeah.
Things like that were really fun. But I would say for something recent, we did the Bad Girls thing for Trans Angels. It ended up actually winning several awards. And it was funny. It came to me as a rough script, and it entailed a bunch of things that we couldn't legally do for Trans Angels. So we ended up just kind of doing it ourselves. And with the help of our friend who works second camera for us now, Ari, he's an amazing drone flyer.
Yeah.
And did some really incredible drone work with that. But we had a lot of fun with it. We took a script that was kind of one of those things that, and I give the company, gave me the rare chance. They're generally pretty controlling, I'll be honest with you. But this one time I was like, okay, here's what I'd like to do is turn this into a 2-day shoot. And we're really going to do this, and this, and make it more of a feature. And they were like, okay, go for it.
Fucking A.
And it worked. It won a bunch of awards. And it was because, and we also got to work with a really great cast that time. It was, everybody kept saying, I think one of them actually mentioned it at the award show. She said, if we work really hard, we might win something. I kept bribing them with that all for 2.5 days. It was because, of course, we ran over a little bit, but it was worth it. And it is nice when you do something and goes, okay, that actually looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, we took the time to stop and get the tire squealing as they drove away from stealing the bank.
I was going to say, I was on set with Ari a couple weeks ago. Ari's a sweetheart, good friend of mine. Everybody loves Ari. And he is a huge nerd with the drones. And he was telling me, I don't know if this is the same scene that you're talking about, but there was a lot of car driving involved. And he had to be a stunt driver as well as a drone operator and all the other stuff that he does.
Different scene.
Oh, it's a different scene?
But he did good drone work on both things.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we took turns doing the driving in the car. We actually got to rent a 50-year anniversary special race car, and it was pretty fun.
It sounds like it.
That was a scene for Trans Angels again.
Yeah.
So that is the nice thing, and it is really fun going for years often shooting, and just the trans market now is getting the same size budgets as in the straight side or the gay side community, and we're able to actually do something that's worth watching and has some creativity and a storyline, and there's even sometimes some special effects. But it's nice to have a budget to work with and actually feel like you're doing good work.
Now, do you think it's that we're finally getting the budget, or that we've had the budget and now they're finally investing it because they're like, well, we don't want to shoot the same stuff we've been shooting, let's up ante?
There was a period when I was performing where there wasn't the internet. And
Oh, yeah, right.
so there was the whole pre-internet thing. So I think the period that you're talking about is a much shorter period
Oh, of course.
than
Yeah.
I've experienced.
Oh, no, of course.
And so you go from, I think there was an interesting point. Oh, God, when was it? God, it was about when that tape came out, like 2006.
Right.
Everyone was so surprised the stats got released, but it was the first time that it really blew up as a market, and it actually outsold several other genres at the time, and I don't remember exactly, but they made a huge amount of money with it that year. And then people, there were certain companies like Devil's Film,
Right.
completely different owner. That's when I first started shooting for him, Mike, and he was really supportive. He was like, do what you want to do, be creative. I hired you because you're creative. And we actually did a lot of things that were fun. And,
Yeah.
I love that set when everybody's laughing when you're done.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's great.
When it does, it makes it like, it just makes it feel so
You're not
worthwhile.
digging ditches.
I asked that question mostly because like I've seen interviews with like multiple like porn owners, like Evil Angel always says, like, goes on record talking about how they make the most money out of their trans content, and they pretty much just finance everything else with that.
I know how their producer deals work, but it's a little different from other companies. So I'm not sure I could comment. Obviously MindGeek's making a killing on this. And most of the other companies are, and they realize that now. So yes, they are investing in the product. As they've seen a greater return, they've invested in it farther.
Yeah.
For them, it's all business.
Business, yeah.
course.
And I'm not going to hold that against them.
No, of course, yeah.
I understand. I mean, it's, I've shot a lot of BDSM too, and you always dealt with smaller budgets for that. And so you deal with what product you're selling or what budget you're dealing with too.
Yeah.
It was also interesting too, is because when I first started shooting, it was during the period where, they didn't let performers do that. It was a much smaller industry, significantly smaller.
Oh yeah.
And so
Imagine.
that just really wasn't happening. I had to work my way up through somebody's crew, a couple people's crews, and just to get a chance. And, for my first day, I was hanging out with the crew, not with the other performers generally. It's a lot easier to break in now than it was then, that's for sure.
I'd imagine.
Yeah, well, we were talking about that. I mean, this is a theme that has come up several times over the course of season 3, where we talked to girls and we mentioned that the bar for entry is so much lower. And there's,
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's an influx of,
But there's always been a market, and I think that's one of the things that Groovy has been outstanding at is helping those girls get started. Mm-hmm. I would say he has always been there. He's always been the one that, fosters young careers.
Yeah. Well, and we know the huge part of like Groovy's business model is volume. Volume. It's always been volume.
Sure.
So it's been their purview to give as many people a chance. But
Well, yeah, if you have shooters in different look all around,
But again, he was doing that before anybody else.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
right.
So that was always very smart. He was getting, because that's why I was going to Argentina so much. South America, we would have girls come to meet me from Peru while we were shooting there. Same thing like you were discussing, or Kelly was talking about your first shoot driving almost across the country.
Right.
And it was the same thing there. All of a sudden, because I was going there for so long, almost 7 years in Argentina, I was there every 6 weeks to 2 months. So we had our little crew there. We had our people, our regular folks, and those people that you relied on. But you're always trying to find that new face.
Yeah.
The industry is based on that
New faces, yeah.
It always has been.
I'm curious about this. This just occurred to me. You've been in this business for so long, and you've pretty much spun every plate there is to spin, I imagine, right? Is
Our
there...
plate's a euphemism.
They always are on this show. I don't know what that means. But what I was going to ask is, I mean, you have a pretty good gig right now, or a good handful of all kinds of gigs. Is there anything left for a person in your position to aspire to? Or is there anything that you want to grow into, or maybe create yourself?
Anything coming up next for you?
There is possibly something coming up next. We'll see.
Okay, Radio Zoo question. Jeez.
You said the same thing. I just paraphrased it. I just made it
So
simpler.
what is coming up next for Tom?
Okay, it's 2 questions. You got to pick one. Hold on. No, first, I am at a good place in my career. I have always, as a producer, tried to never put all my eggs in one basket. And again, I enjoyed and always have enjoyed where I'm shooting a gay fisting scene this week. I'm shooting trans this week, and I'm shooting interracial gangbang and then some glory hole stuff. And the constant change and variety keeps it fresh and interesting, especially when you got to come up with some twisted new sexy idea every goddamn day. As for what's coming in the future, a company I've gone back and forth with over the years is now one of my proteges is actually working there, and so I may start working with them as well. It's interesting. My sister's high up there in the tech world, and it's interesting. We end up talking about the same things when it comes to business. Really, it's all about good delegating. Communicating with your staff or with your crew, and that's what makes a good leader. Anytime you try to put together a team, you must first learn how to do it yourself.
Yep.
To successfully keep a good group of people together.
Yeah, this idea of delegation is something that hits very close to home. It took me a long time as a single, just do everything yourself performer, producer. You got to make all your own stuff from like whole cloth, right? Those first, I'd say maybe 10 years before I start to really appreciate what it is to let go. You don't have to do everything. The importance of delegating, to get your friends involved, to maybe spend some money on another professional, and kind of let go of the reins a little bit and maybe paint with a broader brush,
Yeah, you showed me a sample earlier of somebody else's, and that was something that she talked about, was that she was stretched so thin.
Right.
And my sister's she's 4 years older. Like I said, she's really high up there in the tech world. So I can't get to the point where I can't say. And but she's always been kind of a business mentor to a degree. When we get together, that's what we talk about, is how to manage. And my crew is like 6 people.
Yeah.
She's got 30. I'm like, okay, I'll listen to you.
Yeah.
But it all works out the same. It's all how you communicate and keep a quality environment, especially on set. I've always said that some of my favorite producers to shoot for, remember shooting for Joey Silvera?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was always fun. He made the set fun. He'd tell you to go over there and start fucking. And when I see it's really hot, then I'll come over with the camera. You're like, okay. But it took all the stress and the worry away, and you're like, oh, okay. And we always worked with a lot of the same people.
Yep.
So his sets were fun, and I've always tried to emulate that. The best producers, not to say this is always the case, but if they haven't been performer, they don't really understand.
They don't really understand. It's a huge, going back to one of the first things you said in this fork of the conversation was teaching yourself or learning how to do a little bit of everything.
Right.
Stephanie and I talked about this the other day. It's imperative that we sit down every once in a while and we watch some tutorials and we figure out some new stuff about our gear or techniques, because the more we know, now we're not going to, you can't be a master, you can't serve that many masters, but the more that you have some sort of grip on it, when it does come time to delegate, when you do have a budget to hire folks and whatever, you can at least
set your standard.
You can set a standard, you know what ought to be done, and then you can judge people's work quality. And if you just know a little bit, you'd be surprised how often you find how pleasurable it is to get somebody that actually knows the thing that you've just kind of got a passing familiarity with,
right,
and you get so much more surprised by the results. But it's good to know, the fundamentals of what they're doing.
For me, it's just as important that there are people that can also work well with others. Mm-hmm. Is you find too many people who are temperamental, bring their problems to work, overly dwell on their own issues, and leave it at home. Yeah. This is a workplace. I know it's porn, but you still have to show up and have a professional attitude.
Yeah, we run into a lot of that too. In that little thing that I showed you a few episodes ago, I said porn is essentially the lowest rung on the entertainment ladder, and But
there are many different rungs of that porn ladder.
Sure, mm-hmm. But I say that to say this, that people that approach it, they don't treat it with the kind of seriousness it requires, because any job worth doing is worth being a professional about.
Most people get into this because they think it's an easy buck.
Yep.
And then what you figure out, the only ones who really make it, the ones who make it are the ones who've had jobs in the real world.
Yeah.
That have had to work someplace else, get a degree, done something else, they generally do great. Otherwise, so many of them just come and go, and that's okay. The industry kind of feeds on that, but I love having that. Several of the people that I work with, 20, I've known them 20, at least a decade, and that makes for a great relationship.
What I love about having a really good crew on set is it really does help the performers.
Takes everything out of it.
When they see a happy environment, because I've worked on crews, other places where it wasn't a positive environment. Directors yelled, and it was, did not make people feel comfortable, especially when you have to have an erection.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How do you expect people to fuck under, stress like that?
Right, but if they walk in and they see that everybody's having a good time, everyone's still focused and getting their job done, making sure hey, do you have everything that you need? Great.
Yep.
And what do you need for lunch? And da-da-da-da.
The chaos is organized and not actual chaos.
Right. Well, I mean, I've instituted in the last year. When we walk in, everyone stops when we show up to a location, and we do I just call it a walkthrough, and we walk through every area. Here's where this is going to go. This is what we're shooting. We've got these 3 rooms. We're going to light all 3, and so that everybody knows the whole plan.
Yep. Organization is key.
And it's really helped me, and it was something my sister suggested.
Now, I'm looking at the clock here. It's going by so fast. And so I think we're going to wrap it up the way we usually do, because this kills that little bit of time. Let's just kind of put a bow, at least on this episode. 3 pieces of advice that you'd give to somebody coming into the industry. Now, it could be a producer you're talking to. I know. It could be for talking to a performer, but something that you would find the most pertinent piece of advice to give up and comers.
Consistency is number 1. You think this is an easy job, but it's not. You got to stay in shape. You got to be ready to go. If you're the male performer and you got to have your dick hard every day, you need to be in shape. You need to be ready to go. I used to warm up with yoga every day on set. Consistency, that's number 1. Treat it like a business. It is. The more you do so, the more others will respect you and give you that opportunity. If you come at it, we were just talking earlier about, getting text messages from people in the business, and it's gobbledygook. I'm sorry. I'm expecting you to text me with some response. If we're super good friends, sure, we're going to talk shit to each other.
Communication is key.
But communication is key, and it needs to be clear.
Yeah.
It's a professional communication.
Yeah.
People skills.
That drives me nuts. It's okay. Yes, I do come from a different generation where people actually wrote letters, but it makes a difference in how people respect one another, and it is more normal within the general business world.
Yeah. Well, it's respecting other people's time, because a scene, just a simple scene, involves more people than a performer may ever see behind the scenes, and the way that they communicate affects everybody's time all the way down the production line.
Right, absolutely. You get those days with a model that she knows she's on a high-end set, and sometimes a little bit of a prima donna, and I always say, when the crew is laughing, joking, and making fun of each other and having a great time, it's a good day. When everyone's quiet, we're just getting through it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that brings us to number 3.
People, especially young people, will always make mistakes. I made mistakes. Everyone will make mistakes. Even when you get older, you're going to make a mistake. But how you handle it tells the people around you who you are.
A lot about your character.
A lot about your character. If you just say, oh, God damn it, yes, that was me, and move on, everyone else will too. If you show up late for work with a coffee cup with a Starbucks in your hand, and you're about 15 minutes late, I know where you stopped. Fuck you, I was here 15 minutes before call time.
Right.